Good morning, everyone. It's another Wednesday. Today is actually Thursday, but we'll not talk about it any further. Sitting in the office in the gym because Jim's busy outside. We're going to talk about something really funny today. Hands and feet. Love it. Let's go.
Hi, everyone. Today's question is centered around hands and feet. How do you train them? Or differently asked, do you train them at all?
Okay, so first things first. In my world, in my training world, in the world of moving weights, nothing happens without your hands or your feet. Either your feet are on the ground or your hands are grabbing something, or obviously both at the same time, right? So, as important as the feet and the hands will be for this call, um, let's put things into perspective first. So, there's positions and there's tensions that we need to learn. So that means we have to learn the neutral hips, the neutral pelvis, and we have to learn the three shoulder positions, right? We have to learn three big muscles, the lats, the glutes, and the obliques, and that's it, right? The hands or the feet and the feet are exclusively for getting more or better access to everything that I just everything that I just mentioned, right? So this call, this video is not about how you should be training your feet or how you should be training your hands. This doesn't matter. The context matters, as both will give you more and better access to stuff that we want to work with, which are big muscles, the lats, the glutes, and the obliques. So that's the intro. That being said, the feet and the hands are totally different, right? The feet are actually super simple to train. There's two functions. One function of your foot, meaning the arch, is to maintain heavy weight. That means both feet on the ground. You're grabbing something heavy. You're either walking with it, you're squatting it, you're picking it up. Whatever the movement is, whatever the exercise is, it doesn't matter. So your arch, the thingy below your foot, needs to be able to support heavy weight. Okay, that's the first one. And the second one is to use your arch, this thingy on the backside of your foot, is to be used as a spring. Walking, running, sprinting, that kind of thing. So one's more for, let's call it static tension, static power, and the other one's more for dynamic. All right. This matters a lot because there's 3 foot positions that are basically possible. The first one is you can roll in. So you can collapse, whatever you want to call it. It's not actually collapsing. It's finding tension towards the inside. So your arch gets flatter. That's the first one. The second one is the neutral. So that's where you see like a natural arch. Basically, when you take your shoes off and you stand, that should be a neutral position. Most of the time, it's a little bit tucked in, a little bit collapsed in, but that's totally fine. The third one is if you roll to the outside. So those are the 3 positions your foot can be in. And obviously everything in between, but to get the concept, we'll stick with those 3. 2 of them are made for supporting heavy load. One is made for making the arch as a spring work. So bringing your foot in is made for maintaining heavy weights, as is the neutral foot position. So playing ping pong between those 2 is actually where the support of your arch should start. You can start with neutral because if whatever your hips are weak, what I want to say, your hips are weak, that means your arch has to collapse at some point, which is totally fine. The only thing we're looking for is the last rep being more arch than the first one, less collapsing on the last rep. We're not looking for picture perfect neutral feet and perfect arch. This is not going to happen, right? So neutral position and the in position is for supporting heavyweight, and being on the outside, that means almost losing the ground with your big toe knuckle. This is made for running, walking, sprinting. Running, walking, sprinting is not a linear motion. It's more of, okay, you when you walk, you touch the ground with your heel first, you roll to the outside, you roll to the inside, and then you can come up. This is how we walk. This is how we run. This is how we sprint. That's natural. There's a lot of videos in the book about not movement analysis, but how your feet move while walking. This is not a straight thing. This is not a neutral perfect hip position. I'm sorry, a neutral perfect foot position that needs to be maintained. No, no, this is a rolling motion that goes on all the time. Gets highlighted in sprinting, world-class sprinters, not me. Gets highlighted there because you can see their knees collapsing in, their foot's collapsing in when they're running 100 meters in whatever, 9.58 seconds. So crazily fast. So this is not a mistake or something to be avoided. This has a function, which is walking, running, and sprinting. I'm not saying this should be heavily loaded. This is for walking, running, and sprinting. All right. So those are the feet. Your feet should be left alone. I'll stick with the Beatles here, which is let them be. Let your foot be. Get as little cushion underneath your foot as possible. Move heavy weights, squat, pick stuff up, carry stuff with almost no shoes on or very thin soles underneath it. The less cushion, the better. Perfect. That's it. Focus on your neutral hip and your glute engagement, and your feet will get better, not the other way around. Go ahead.
So what is your approach then when you, for instance, see someone in the gym who comes in with like very cushiony running shoes? Would you advise that person to, for instance, adjust the shoes for certain moves or for heavy carries, etc.?
Yeah, we have a 70 pages protocol for those kind of situations, which literally says take your shoes off. That's it.
Okay.
Train with your socks, or everyone has flat sole shoes at home, whether that's at least Converse or something that's not um, um, a, um, a height gap between the big toe and the heel. That's what we're looking for. So take your shoes off, train with your socks. We don't care. Okay, this is how you make your foot better. Leave your foot alone. This is not about rolling your feet with a lacrosse ball. This is not toe spreading them with something. Yes, that helps for whatever recovery or you're feeling better, but your feet are going to get actually better once you start focusing on your neutral pelvis. That means engaging your glutes, keeping your hips neutral. That will eliminate your big thigh bone, called the end of it knee, coming in all the time. This will reduce your ankle collapsing. This will reduce your foot doing stuff that doesn't need to be done, to be honest. The interesting thing about your foot is it has, I think, 200 and I forgot the number, whatever. A big percentage of your bone are actually in your foot. I think it's, remember it, whatever. I think 75% of your bones are in your foot. I could be completely mistaken. A huge number of your body's bones, there's 256 in your body, are in your feet. Same goes for muscles. So there's a lot of small bones and there's a lot of small muscles in your foot. That's a pretty good indicator that you should leave it alone and somebody else should take care of it, because small muscles means you cannot really train them. Yes, you can make your foot stronger by walking barefoot, and that's fine. Walk barefoot. But the imbalance between not supporting or not challenging your arch for supporting heavy weight, plus not challenging it with running, walking, sprinting, uphill, whatever, the imbalance between those two, this is what fucks up our feet. Plus, of course, wearing puffy shoes or high heels all day, yes, this is not going to help. But the first step to solving it is not sticking a lacrosse ball underneath your feet. If it gives you some relief, great, keep doing it. But what we need to tackle first is your neutral hips. All right, so let's talk about the hands for a second. Your hands are the exact opposite. So in the book, I compare your feet to like the stable, wise grandparents. Like nothing stresses them, right? They're retired. Granddad reads the newspapers and sits in his whatever rocking chair. Grandma makes tea, like that. Those are your feet. Like, okay, we got this. Just leave us alone. We got this covered. We got this figured out. Just all right, you're good. Your hands are like the grandchildren running in and screaming and being just crazy all the time, because your hands can do a lot of stuff, right? So how can you start controlling your hands? what your hands need is, and I'm gonna stick with one of my all-time favorite bands from my youth, which is Queen. Um, they need pressure, so you need to keep your hands under pressure. You need to learn how to apply pressure with your hands. That means you have to hang, you have to hold, and you have to grip stuff constantly, right? Because we're not using our hands anymore. We don't go on all fours, obviously. We don't hang anymore. We don't have to carry stuff anymore. But that's what your hands need. So your hands, especially your palm, needs to learn how to maintain pressure with it. All right, it's not super complicated. It's not. Try something. The number one thing you need to do is hang with a neutral grip from a bar,
Mm.
or grab something neutral like a frame carry or farmer carry that actually forces you to hold on to it and keep the weight on your palms, right? As you get more tired, the
Mm.
weight or the farmer handles or your grip on the bar hanging from it is going to slip towards your fingers. It's not bad, but we want to maintain the grip in the palm for as long as possible. Why? Short answer is there's stuff in your hands. Depending on what the pressure will be applied, this is going to help you find your lats
Mm.
or not. That's the short version of it.
Would you, someone who has like very, very weak hands, would you advise them to even work with something like straps to make sure that, let's say the handle on a kettlebell or on a something else stays in the palm and does not just slip down, that it gets like a death grip just for your fingers?
Okay, so the thing here is it's the same with what they call orthotics or orthopedics. What's
Orthopedic.
the ins orthopedic the insoles in your shoes? It's the same thing here. I'm all for using reps if your grip limits you from lifting whatever something really heavy off the floor. That means a barbell, right? For carries, it's the exact opposite. Like you have to make your hands stronger first before you can use the reps or the grips for your fingers. So that means for every carry, I dare you to use any assistance stuff. It's the same concept with everything else. Whether that's a weightlifting belt, yes, of course it helps, but you need to get stronger first before you can reap the benefits
Mm.
of whatever you want to call it, assistance gear, whatever. So for everyone out there, don't use reps, don't use grips for any carry ever. Focus on almost carrying it in a, where's the camera here? Almost in a false-ish grip. At least start with it and whatever, 20 meters in, if you're going really, really heavy, you're going to go neutral anyways. But start with this and you're going to end up here, which is perfectly fine. So no reps for carries whatsoever.
And how do in general hands correlate with like issues as when it kind of like wanders up, like the wrist or the elbow or shoulder? Um, how is
So
that?
there's Yeah, so the same concept for the foot, right? Remember, we got an inside position, we got a neutral position, we got an outside position. The same goes for the hand. So the natural position is neutral, right? So if you just let your hands or your arms hang down to the side, that's a neutral position, thumbs pointing forward, or if you bring them up, thumbs pointing backwards. So that's a natural position. There's one position that your, call it wrist, elbow, shoulder, hand, does not want to be loaded, which is the overextended position, right? Because overextended position, that's typically whatever you want to call it, tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, shoulder issues, because you're loading the outside of your arm, which it's not a bad thing at all, but it eliminates you being able to use your, most importantly, your lats.
Mhm.
So that means this, where's the camera? This is not a position that needs to be loaded. Yes, that's a push-up position as well. That's your keyboard position. That's basically your tennis position. That's your golf position when you hit the clubs. This position shall not be loaded. If your sport or your life requires it to, for whatever reason, well, guess what? You need to train in your training sessions. You need to train the opposite. So false grip all the way. This helps you find your inner forearm, your biceps, your lats way faster. All right. So it's a ping pong between, okay, this is our natural position. This can be loaded, this can be loaded, and the overextended shall not be loaded heavily. There's no problem with doing push-ups in that position. I'm talking about like constantly, whether that's being in a front track position like this with 100 kilos on it, whether it's bench pressing like this. Um, that's actually a good point. You cannot bench press with a neutral. Where's my wrist? You cannot bench press with a barbell like this. This is not going to happen, and it's actually really dangerous, right? Because the barbell is going to roll. So you have to bench press in an overextended position, which is fine if the other part, like 90% of your training, you're going to go for force grip and make this really strong. So if your sport, bench pressing, powerlifting, requires you to be in that position loaded, which is not ideal, well, guess what? 90% of your training needs to be here so you can sustain and maintain that position in powerlifting, golf, tennis, whatever your fancied sport is.
And because you mentioned the push-ups, would you then also recommend to do like the push-ups on your wrists?
Yes. So when we do push-ups, we teach push-ups with a neutral wrist. Fists are tough for most people because it puts a lot of pressure on the fingers. So we have like grips on the floor where you can actually hold your wrist like this. You can still do this, but that's on us to make sure people stay in that position. And the fun part is this eliminates a lot of elbow, shoulder pain right away because that's the position where the big muscles can actually start working. And I would not recommend start doing push-ups with an overextended wrist if there's any issues. If not, do whatever you want.
And how would you in general kind of like separate the training? Would you say like everything that belongs kind of like to your hands and your upper body like 50-50% in your training? Or would you say taking into consideration that we humans mostly move bipedal, that we should shift that percentage in our like kind of like when we program a week of our training?
So what we see now is okay. So first things first, the neutral pelvis. So keeping your hip neutral and not tilted forward nor backward while walking. This is what we see as the only thing I want to fix for the next 40 and 50 years of my life. This is the most important thing. The cool thing is, if you start, for example, with a frame carry, you can literally combine your neutral pelvis with your hands and with your feet. So we're looking for stuff that has the biggest bang for your buck and not separate those things too much, right? If I would have to choose, I would start with upper body first, so frame carries, etc. Because most people have a hard time finding the lats and finding the obliques going into their pelvis, right? But again, don't overcomplicate it. Do frame carries, do farmer carries. Focus on keeping your pelvis neutral by engaging your glutes. Take your shoes off, hold on to it. It's gonna hurt in your hands, but in a good way. And whenever you want to drop it, that means the frame or the farmer handles, just hold on to it for a little bit longer. That's exactly the threshold we're going to go through. And so you're going to cover everything at once. That's why either the frame carry or the farmer carry in the both hip templates and in the shoulder template, because it's going to help both at the same time. So I don't like thinking in upper body and lower body. I think that's not how the body works. I think the body works with talked about last week, the vertical integration. So doing everything in a smart way every single session. And a carry is something that I can do every single session, that I can push hard, that I can move a lot of weight that's going to cover my hips, my shoulders, my hands, my feet. So I do this in every single session. Every single session. I do frame carry, I do either farmer carry, I do either semper carry. That's it. I train 4 times a week, and every single time there's a carry involved.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Cool. So just to make sure we're all on the same page here. As important as your feet and your hands are, view them as your assistant. The pelvis is your whatever, your boss, your CEO, your
MVP.
your MVP, your end enemy, however you want to call it. This is what you should focus on. Whenever you're trying to fix your feet or your hands, this is the first thing we have to look at, right? Yes, there's fancy stuff and I hope interesting stuff about the feet and the hands in the book, but this is only going to work if you can control your MVPs in your body, your MVP bones. This is your pelvis and this is your shoulder blades. And those are controlled by your big muscles, which is the lats, the obliques, and the glutes. And then you can add stuff to get more access to it through the hands and the feet. Don't focus on it. See it as a part of training for all of it with carry, spring carry, farmer carry, even Semper carry are great tools to even work your grip in a different way. Do it every single time, and you got this. I want to save you time. I want to save you precious energy doing all the, or you want to call it, mobility recovery exercises, lacrosse balls, toe spreaders, ankle dorsiflexion, band exercises. Those are great for recovery if you have too much time. That's great. If you don't have too much time, skip them and focus on your neutral pelvis. Sounds good? Sweet. Books coming along well, finishing touches getting on them. We're gonna post some workshop dates coming up for this year. So if you want to join me here at the gym for a weekend workshop, we're gonna start Friday night with a heavy workout session, so to speak, and some barbecue. I'm gonna do some hip and shoulder stuff throughout the weekend. We're gonna post the dates somewhere. I have no clue where, but you're gonna find it. If you want to find it, I would love to welcome you here at the gym and bring on the questions. Stay Grexy, or if you're not Grexy yet, I would recommend getting there. All right, guys. See you next week and take good care.